It's really important to do this because when you're in the middle of a transaction with your home, you want to make sure that you're getting all the information that you possibly can, because later on, and this has happened several times to people, you move in, all of a sudden everything backs up and you're like, what happened? Everything worked fine, but somebody flushed paper towels or baby wipes or whatever it is down the toilet, and then you end up with blockages, and then there's thousands of dollars of repairs. So definitely a good idea to make sure that your line is running in good condition and there's no problems.
Shaw, did you want to share about your poo-poo topics?
Yeah, let's talk about some poo-poo.
Let's talk about some poo-poo.
So one of the things that I feel like is pretty often skipped during these inspections and during these processes is a sewer lateral inspection. And the thing about it is a lot of people don't really understand what a sewer lateral inspection entails and what a sewer lateral even is, right? So basically, all the pipes in your house, the drainage pipes, and depending on how old your house is, there's different types of piping. Nowadays, most piping, that's running from your house is either going to be ABS, which is a plastic type of piping, or PVC, and depending on what area you're in. And then typically what most cities, counties, municipalities use is a clay pipe. And so the idea is you need to have all of the stuff that you flush down the drain from your house go into some kind of treatment facility or something of that nature, right? So in order to do that, every house has what's called a sewer lateral. Now, some houses have a septic system, and so they have what would be an on-site disposal system. And what that is a tank with a leach field. We'll go into that another time. But in most cases, most homes that are in some kind of city are going to have a sewer system where all of that piping, all of that waste product is being taken somewhere. So the idea is especially when your house gets older, things happen, right? Everything's dug up when they first build a home, they build trees and all these different things happen. And I mean, 10, 15, 20 years can do a lot, right? So, you plant a nice tree on your property, not realizing that the sewer lateral, which is this pipe that's underground, is running somewhere near it or even in the vicinity, right? On the other side of this would be your house. This would be the area where your house starts. And then typically, if you have a newer house, anything that's built in the last, 30 years, you're going to have a clean out. A clean out is basically there so that a plumber can come in, take a look at the pipe, or literally clean it out with a snake if you do have problems with your lines. And if you don't have a clean out, it just runs from your house directly to the city sewer. So this is an idea about what it looks like right here. This is a larger line where your smaller line runs into that, and then everybody's sewer runs into that one line. So the city maintains that, or the county, whoever maintains that in your area. So when you're thinking, oh man, what if that city one backs up? Is it going to just flow into my house? Well, that's typically something that they're monitoring and they're always checking on. But on your actual property, this is the kind of thing that can happen. So real life situation, this is actually a sewer that I just did yesterday. And so that line that I was just talking about looks just like this. This is the city part right here. Everybody's stuff is running by, right? This is the entrance. This is what we would call the transition to the city's connection, right? So this is a clay pipe. You can see that there's some offset joints, and this is typical because they use these sections and they put them all together, right? This is oftentimes where you're going to see root intrusion on a city line. So this is all typical stuff, right? This is what you'd expect. And here's the thing. Any normal inspection that you're going to get, anybody that's going to do a visual inspection on your home, no one's going to be able to see any of this. And even if you run water for a little bit, you'll never know what's going on beneath the soil and in the pipes in your home and outside of your home. So that's the main reason why you want to get this type of inspection. This here is the typical piping that's under your home or near your home. This is what's called ABS. This is plastic. Got some wear on it. This house is a little older, so this has got some wear on it, but typically it's just all black and you can't really tell that there's anything going on. So that's what you normally would see, right? In this case, this is also ABS. Now this has been replaced, but this right here, all that stuff right there, that's all roots. At some point, they've actually done some repairs to this line. So this is a different type of piping right here. This is what's called transite. And then this ABS plastic piping, they butted that together. So the problem is when they did that, that joint was at some point intruded by roots. So basically, and I'll show you as we go back here, that's another joint that they had, and you can see the roots started growing right through that joint that they put in. And they usually put in a good sealer or a joint or a coupler right there, but roots, they will seek out that nutrient-rich water. And if any bit of that water is leaking out, the roots will seek that, and then they go right to that, grow right through, and then you have an unlimited source of all of this nutrient-rich water. that those roots are going towards. This is just one instance of that situation. As you can see, that small little root has caused a pretty large block. There's actually another one that started right by where they did another repair. You can see this. Yeah, that's right by the cleanout. So that little strand of roots right there ended up being about that large inside the actual cleanout. And this is another thing I gotta tell you. I understand that everybody tells you these baby wipes are flushable. If you buy the flushable baby wipes, they're not flushable, okay? If you have baby wipes, I know that's the whole point. You want to be able to flush them down the toilet so you don't have to smell it or whatever it is, whatever you use them for. But just understand these flushable wipes, they still take a very long time to break down. And depending on what type of line you have, if you have an older home that has cast iron piping, especially, this stuff gets stuck in the piping. The piping gets old and brittle. It's almost like Velcro. It sticks to it. You know, if you have a newer home, it's probably not as big of a deal, but wipes are just awful for your sewer system, and you're most likely going to get some kind of blockage. And let me tell you, every single time you call a plumber to come out to snake your line, and that's if you have a clean out on your property, and if you even know where it is. A lot of times there's these caps on your driveway, or there's like a rubber cap over there in the grass area, or like by your bushes in the front of your house or something like that. Every time you do that, it's going to cost at least $300. And if you get different types of cleaning, like a hydrojet, I mean, it's going to cost between $800 and $1,200. Some companies even charge $1,500. So you obviously want to try to avoid flushing certain things down the drain. For example, don't dump your grease from your cooking or whatever down your drain. You know, you always want to dispose of that properly, because that stuff will also really clog up your drain. And it's not going to clog up your drain necessarily down the line in your lateral. It's going to clog up the drain that's inside of your house. So it's going to cause problems there. What happens is it combines with all the soap, and it actually starts to clog your line from the top down. And then you have to have somebody come in from inside and snake your line. And this is not something that's inspected with a sewer lateral. Remember, a sewer lateral is from your house to the city. It's not within your house. So when you're saying you're getting a sewer lateral inspection is going to inspect the piping from your house out, not under the house. We will typically do an inspection under the house as well as a courtesy if there's a two-way cleanout, meaning we can go in both directions. But if not, that's not what's part of that inspection. Usually the place that's a problem is going to be whatever is from your house and out. You're going to have root intrusion, which is common. You can also have bellies. And what a belly is it's a low spot in the pipe. And what happens is sometimes, again, we're talking years, pipes settle. And then when they settle, then it causes a spot where water just sits in that area, and then that causes a diminished flow. And so it's not going to flow that quickly. And depending on what type of piping you have, then it can also cause damage to the pipe, because you're constantly having the water and the waste sitting in that section of piping. Really, just the main thing is you really have to understand the importance of getting these inspections, because this is one thing that can end up costing you, several thousands of dollars. And if you imagine you have a lateral that's underneath a really nice concrete walkway or driveway, that's going to cost a lot of money to also redo that driveway, depending on what type of repair you have done, because they have a lot more options nowadays, the plumbers do, where they can do a repair from within and underneath without having to dig up things. But it's not always an option depending on how deep it is and depending on what type of piping there is. So it's really important to do this, because when you're in the middle of a transaction with your home, you want to make sure that you're getting all the information that you possibly can, because later on, and this has happened several times to people, you move in, all of a sudden everything backs up and you're like, what happened? Everything worked fine, but somebody flushed paper towels or baby wipes or whatever it is down the toilet, and then you end up with blockages, and then there's thousands of dollars of repairs. So definitely a good idea to make sure that your line is running in good condition and there's no problems.
How often would you recommend like a homeowner to do like a sewer lateral inspection?
Well, so it's obviously good to know the history of your home. If you have ABS piping and it's a newer home, it's probably not something that you need to do too often, because most likely you're not going to have problems. But if you have an older home and you know your home is prone to having problems because of the type of piping it is, you probably want to get an inspection at least, I would say, every couple of years, depending on what's going on. And the idea behind that is you'll get a plumber to come out, they'll do the inspection, and then they should be able to water jet or snake it at the same time. Because if you just do the inspection, then you're still going to have somebody come out and clean it at the same time. If you have an older home and you have piping that's prone to problems, it's definitely a good idea to have it done, like I said, at least every couple of years.
I watch a lot of YouTube shorts and TikTok and stuff, right? For content purposes. And I see these plumbers put like a little blue tube that it seems like it inflates into the sewer plumbing and it covers or wraps the inside of a sewer and comes out the other end, and then that's when they cut it off. What is that?
So that is basically a different option for repairing your sewer. There's a couple of different ways of describing it, but it's basically a liner. If you have piping that is eligible for it, right? So for example, if you have a bunch of damaged pipes, offset joints, and just buckling and damaged piping, that's not really something that's going to help the problem. This would be something that would be able to line the inside of an older pipe that's maybe starting to get worn or possibly allowing for root intrusion, like maybe transite, for example. Let me go back to this one. This would be the perfect candidate for that, because this pipe, as you can see, is really starting to wear at the bottom, and you can see some of the damage there, but it's actually in really good condition. There's some joints that can be cleaned up, but this also slows the flow of the waste that goes down. So having a nice smooth liner that's basically the smoothness of plastic on the inside will definitely help your line flow better. So that is a method of lining the inner pipe. Every method that they have to prevent like literally digging up your yard, your piping has to be eligible for that. What piping you have has to meet the requirements of that particular method. That's something that would be, workable for this, but it's like an epoxy sleeve. And so after they blow it up and they leave it blowing up and then it dries, then they cut off the end, and then, now you have a new sleeved pipe that has a nice smooth inner lining now.
Do you guys offer that service? They call it the trenchless sewer replacement, right? Something like that?
There's a couple of different options. There's also another method called pipe bursting, and they run a tool through there and they basically break the pipe that's there and run a new one in its place. So we don't offer any kind of plumbing repairs. I have a trusted partner. He's got all these innovative different options to make repairs, and he's great. We do inspection services, and so what we do is we're going to inspect it and let you know what's going on, and then you hire a plumber. And then if you have a good one that has, really good methods, he's basically been able to do so many different ways. He's got a good hydrojet system to clean out your line. They offer pipe bursting, epoxy liners, all this, and it's amazing what technology will allow for nowadays. Again, you imagine underneath your house, if you have a stretch of piping that is damaged or that's old, like cast iron is another good candidate for that, as long as it's cleaned out and there's no damage to it where, it's already collapsed or anything like that. Cast iron is very brittle on the inside and it catches everything. Even toilet paper, it'll catch it. And so it makes the flow really slow. When it was brand new, it was smooth, perfect, like 50 years ago. Yeah, once it gets older, you line it, it's like a smooth pipe again and everything runs through it really smooth. So no, it's definitely an option, and it's a good option in a lot of these cases.
Thanks for sharing that, bro. I saw some disgusting videos in there.
Yeah, thanks for sharing some poo-poo. All right.
Okay, Chi fans, you guys have a good one. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, share, and comment what your thoughts are about this program. But other than that, we're going to let you guys go. Peace out.